All right, we are recording. This is Cynde. I am the tax and estate strategist with A to Z Business Services, and this is our bonus call with Fran McCully, my business bestie and money person. She is going to talk about the PPP and what you need to do to get your expenses forgiven and all those kind of stuff. I send everything to her, so I don't have it in my head. So I'll take it over to you, Fran, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Okay. So, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. As Cynde said, my name is Fran McCully, and my company is bookkeeping and consulting. And so I have a lot of clients that I do bookkeeping day to day with, but the majority of my clients are on the other side. I have two sides to my business, and the other side is consulting. So, and that's where I help people with PPP or help them with their business planning or whatever it is they may need. So today, Cynde and I are going to talk about the PPP, how you fill your application out, what you do with it. Do you fill your application out? What do you do? So in April, as we all know, all this happened. COVID-19 came into our lives and everything was shut down. The majority of you applied for a PPP loan, and I'm guessing everybody on this call probably received one. And we've been in the lurch now for many months, waiting for Congress to tell us what we're going to do, how it's going to be forgiven, and all of that, and to line all that out for us. Our hope was, and the hope of the big mega banks, was that everything under 150 was going to be forgiven. And once that, and we weren't not going to have to apply for forgiveness. So all of that has kind of gone by the wayside with the back and forth that we have witnessed with Congress and our government. So what they have done recently is they have made a simple application for $50,000 or less for those people who received lower amounts. And so many of you may fall in that category. If you do not fall in that category, you still have to apply for forgiveness. Everyone has to apply for forgiveness no matter what. Okay.
So to interrupt, so if they're under 50,000, what's the application process? What do they have to keep track of?
They should have been keeping track all along. Now that is the problem with everything. They should have received instructions and should have been guided by their bank how to keep track of everything. If they did not keep track of it, they need to go back in history and begin keeping track. They need to know how many weeks of the PPP they used. For example, when the PPP first became an item, they were telling us it was 8 weeks. And so you may have gotten, I'm just going to throw some numbers out, $100,000. Let's pretend you were a little bit bigger of a company and you got $100,000. You had 8 weeks to use that money for payroll for your employees, or if you didn't have employees and you're paying yourself as an employee, for yourself. Now, not to confuse in this instance, but some people are independent contractors like myself and Cynde, and we would pay, in those instances, we would pay ourselves. And you could not use that money all at once. You could not pay yourself or pay your employees all in one lump sum of that $100,000, okay? Or whatever the figure is. You had to figure out how much was going to be doled out to each employee or the owner, in the case of Cynde and myself, each week, okay? So once that, so in the beginning, it was just 8 weeks. After that, they said, oh, wait a minute, people are having money left over, we can't have that. So they extended it to 24. So it became 24 weeks for some people. Now, some people used the money up in the first 4 weeks and they ran out of money. So that's the end of it. Some people did stretch it all the way to 24 weeks. Some people stretched it to 18. What some of them may have done was cut that salary or that payroll amount in half to make it stretch for a particular employee through that 8-week period. Okay. Now, if it ran out in 5 weeks, okay, it ran out in 5 weeks. So back to Cindy's question, you should have been tracking that in an Excel spreadsheet or something of the sort. What happened each week, how many employees you paid, and how it worked out. So every time you had payroll, it went on your sheet. Okay, the next week came along, more payroll goes on your sheet. Okay, so now you're really prepared. And you've been waiting for the forgiveness applications to come to be. Now you applied for your PPP through your bank, through your credit union. Some people applied through PayPal. A lot of other entities towards the end came to be. So whomever you applied to receive that money is who is going to get your PPP application. The bank or entity are the only ones that can approve your PPP application. If you decide, oh, I found it on the Small Business Administration website, I'm just going to do it there. No, you can do it there all you want, but they are not approving. Only the bank can approve, and then the bank sends the bulk package, just like they did when you applied, to the Small Business Administration. And there is where it gets resolved and agreed upon that you are forgiven. Okay. Now, one more hitch to this. As you all remember, there was the EIDL money that you received, maybe $1,000 grant, maybe under that, depending on your situation, how many people in your business, how many employees, all that. Not everybody got that. And there were a lot of people who were afraid to apply for it because it was a known fact that they were checking credit. So a lot of people didn't because of that. If you did apply for that and you got the 1,000, and that's all wonderful, you spent the 1,000 on some entity of your business, whether it was an expense or payroll, or as yourself being an independent contractor, you used it for that. Okay. So weeks later, you may have gotten another email from them that said, oh, we've approved you for whatever amount. Maybe it was 28,000, maybe it was 25, whatever. Now that's a loan. Okay. And that becomes a part of the PPP if you accepted that loan.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, that becomes a part of the PPP. So you have, maybe you got 20,000 in PPP and you got 10 in the loan. Okay. So that all becomes a piece of that, but you have that forgiven piece, which was the PPP loan. But because it all came from the business administration, it all becomes that home for that amount of money. Okay. And remember, if it's an EIDL loan, not the free grant, but the loan, you are paying that back over time.
Okay.
And that's a 30-year loan. So completely separate in a way from the PPP.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say they get, an astronomical amount of PPP.
Yes.
And they use a lot of it during the weeks that they were supposed to on payroll.
Yes.
Is the payroll taxes also part of that forgiveness?
Payroll taxes are a part of the forgiveness, yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that goes with that?
Some people separated their payroll taxes and took that out of their own pocket. Some people didn't. So, and on the form that you should have used to track all this, you should have indicated that if you were paying it out of your own pocket or if it was a part of the PPP. So, okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, if let's say they did pay it out of their pocket and everything, they can reimburse them and put it towards the forgiveness part, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But we've spent the money now.
Okay.
It's over. It's spent. How you spent it needs to be recorded on that form. Should have been recorded already. Now, I know a lot of people didn't do that because they didn't know what to do. No one was given any instructions.
Is there a deadline to file that form?
Okay, the new form.
Yeah, the forgiveness form.
The forgiveness form. yes and no. Yes, there is a deadline, and the deadline is the day you receive the money. So let's say you received your PPP loan on the 29th of April of 20, April 29th, 2020. That's the deadline. So you have the year to fill that forgiveness form out. So
Oh.
they need to have that forgiveness application before that year expires. A lot of banks are saying, oh my gosh, you need to fill it out now. We need it now. That's the bank saying that to you. That's not the rules. They can say that all they want, and they can force you to do it because they are the bank and they gave you the money. Okay. But you do not have to. It is not due until the day you receive the money a year later. So if you
Okay.
receive the money April 1st, it's due April 1st, 2021.
Okay. When was the last time that somebody could have gotten that PPP money?
June 30th.
Okay, so then they would have June of the
Mhm.
2021.
Exactly. If somebody got it June 30th, they have till June of 21 to pay, to get their forgiveness form in place.
Okay.
It's not something you have to jump and do now, but while it's fresh in your mind, I suggest you get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is the bank that you give it to, and it is the bank that packages it up with all the other forms and sends it off to the Small Business Administration. Now, before they send it, they will tell you you were approved for your forgiveness.
Okay, so well, there's a letter that they should expect on how much
Yeah.
was approved of the PPP.
That's right. Yes. And so if somebody got $51,000, there's a small application and a large application. Anything under 50 or less is the small, what they're calling the simple PPP forgiveness application. Anything bigger than 50,000, even if it's $100 bigger, they have to go the long form.
Okay. All
So,
right.
yeah.
Very helpful.
And if anybody needs any assistance doing that, I do have some spreadsheets that I was giving to clients that were very helpful, that enabled them to track their money. So,
Oh, how nice.
a few different spreadsheets that I'd be happy to hand out. And you can just calculate it any way you want on a simple Excel spreadsheet. But if somebody is in need of a spreadsheet, I do have some that I can.
How nice.
So that now let me say one other thing on this. When and if they approve more money, when they approve a stimulus amount for the people, if that happens, along with that will come another PPP, most likely. I would be very shocked if it didn't. So, and new rules and new guidelines. So, if you have not done 19 taxes yet, and you expect that you would like to do the PPP the next time around, it's very important that 19 taxes are done, because you were allowed to use 18 or 19 at the first round. So this round will probably just be 19. And you'll probably have to estimate what happened during the year, because I'm going to guess the situation will be a little stricter on the rules, because we've already seen one go down. So
tracking is very important.
Tracking is very important, yes. And if they use the bank or maybe PayPal or an entity that didn't give them full and complete instructions, they really need to back up right now and remember how it happened, because it will come around and bite them if not. We don't want that.
I know this has been very informational. I know that my clients will really appreciate it. And of course, the group with our challenge that we have going on right now too. So if there's any questions anybody has, how does someone get a hold of you? Okay,
they can get a hold of me in Facebook, or a phone call would be fine. My email is fran@franmccully.com. And you can just put in the subject that you were referred through Cynde through her challenge. That would be fine.
Okay, all
Okay.
right. Any
All right.
last words?
I think that's about it.
All right,
If
thank you so much.
confused anybody or they have any questions, please get a hold of me and we'll walk them through it.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.